Hello, welcome to episode 197, Then and Now, where we're going to talk about how old Andres is and how young I am.
This is the abuse that I get every single day
And
here.
you want me here, so this is all on you.
This is just an introduction to the lovely Dariana Fustes Flores.
Thank you for having me. Dariana Flores Martinez Garcia.
Martina Garcia.
Thank you. I have a grandmother and a grandfather.
Yes.
You know, everybody came together to create me.
Yeah,
Duh.
yeah, of course.
I was the end goal here.
We all know that. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you can get more of awesome Dariana every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 p.m. with the Mr. Miguel Tucson. They're a dynamic duo. Yeah, they're doing awesome.
He owes me some high fives. So if you're watching this and you're in class,
that's true. Y'all be doing that.
Please make sure that if he comes up to you and give you a high five, don't do it. Like swipe away. Just be like, psych.
Yeah, he does like the hold the hand up, and then when you go for the high five, he just dodges
away.
it, and then it's just like, oh man.
So we gotta start dodging him. We gotta unionize.
Okay.
Create a front line. Go up against him.
Nice. I love it.
Ay.
Cool. So, okay, as usual, I have, the guests select a topic, and I find this one to be particularly interesting because the more, I guess you could say, on my toes that I am, the more excited that I am, as some awesome stuff always ends up getting created in the meantime. So, then and now, actually, you know what? Go ahead. You go ahead and present.
Then and now and then. Basically, I want to pick Andres' brain on what exactly it was growing up when he was in the salsa scene at my age, which I am 20, by the way. I started dancing salsa when I was 17, which is right around the same time that Andres took over Salsa Kings. So it's just more as a comparison and, the change in dynamics between what you grew up with and what I'm currently growing up with. Like, what are the main places to go out? What closed? Why don't I go out to dance as much as you probably would have gone out to dance during your time? And all that fun, crazy stuff.
I love it. Okay, so in 1817,
Back when I was a boy, back when my back still worked.
So for whatever reason, there was a singular event that brought everyone together, and I, to this day, want to recreate this event, and it was Wednesday salsa nights at the Miccosukee Casino.
Oh, damn.
And essentially, so check this out. This is live band.
Which is always great.
Full band. We're not talking about no 3-piece.
Like trumpet, like
like eight piece minimum.
Damn.
8-piece minimum. Live band, cash bar, stage, huge dance floor, full of tables and chairs, like essentially
more like a congress.
Like yes. Okay, yes. Like it was because it's like a
Every
ballroom.
Wednesday night.
Correct.
Damn.
Correct. And it was more like lights on.
Okay.
Not on.
But like medium on.
Yes, but like medium on. And $5 entrance. $5 entrance.
It's not even a drink.
Yeah, correct. So this was a place where you could invite the friends. There's no obligation to dance. Everybody, there's chairs, there's tables, there's service. And what's levels this up even more is there was a rueda competition every week, $1,200 cash prize, okay, and a couples competition thereafter, $300 cash prize. So essentially, the same rueda couldn't win every single week, but you could win every other. And essentially what we're talking about is if you had 5 couples, that was $120 if you were in the winning rueda per person. If you were in the winning pareja, it was $150.
So dope.
At a $5 entrance fee with a live band. So
and at the Miccosukee.
At the Miccosukee's casino, you go in, you go upstairs.
Which is a huge venue.
It's a casino. So why am I mentioning this? So why I'm bringing this up is because there was a culture kind of built around this singular event because there was a lot motivating people to get together. a lot of the different schools, a lot of people were able to kind of cross,
The different
commingle,
dances
meet.
and,
That different, correct.
Would it be just casino? There'd be bachata. There'd be like merengue. Or
No,
would it
no,
focus
no
on
bachata, but it was definitely more of the Cuban social dances. A merengue every once in a while, but definitely more.
But it was a Cuban social. It was like a Cuban salsa casino social.
Correct.
Focusing on the rueda aspect of the competition and like.
Yes, but there definitely was, like I said, live band. It was a
Social
party.
dancing. Yeah.
It was a party, 100%. So that was a big entryway to my beginning, if you would, because a lot of the, I guess you could say, school, I wouldn't say like rivalries or anything, but it was just like a lot of that was kind of put behind everybody. Everybody was
tension,
there. Yeah, right. The tensions were not there. Even though there was healthy competition, which of course
It's
is
always great to grow.
absolutely, we can get inspired from one another and then always come back next week harder, stronger, better, etc. So that was very, very interesting coming up as a student to becoming an instructor and eventually taking over. I personally wasn't familiar with the congresses then.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible because this event was so much of like that check.
That congresses weren't as like
Right. Or it was just not, I guess you could say, as sought out because
you
all
had
the
this
schools
weekly thing.
Yeah, that all the
everybody
schools
would
were
get
coming together. We had live music. And great live music, to be fair. So we're doing everything in our power to recreate that. And I guess ultimately starting through also, there was a very, at least in the casino format, there was a very, I wouldn't say repetitive structure, but it was
a stable structure.
It was a stable
like
structure
you knew what was going to happen.
You knew what was going to happen, and you can kind of see
where things were headed. And like
from a I guess you could say from a mathematical standpoint, there was
2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah, like as if that's how you got better as a dancer. Yeah. If that makes sense, like a lot of the tracking, I guess you could say, which is arguably impossible to do in the arts. Like, how do you like know you're getting better as a painter? How do you know you're getting
right?
You know what I'm saying?
How do you like?
How do you quantify that?
How do you check your growth?
Correct. Yeah. So here there was this, back when I was learning, there was this system, which I do believe a lot of academies are still using. But I tried to, because of just how I felt after a lot of investing of time and money, how I was able to see somebody from La Calle, if you would, never having paid for a class, they look totally different than me. And I think I've mentioned that story a couple times on the podcast. But so I guess you could say now what I've found, or at least it's a little bit more normalized, is kind of like the flavor of everything, kind of introducing the sauce to the babies, and not necessarily saying that that's later. I mean, it's something that you say, a good teacher would say, hey, that's going to take some time. That's going to take practice.
Right. The individuality of each person would come with the growth.
Correct. But to start that self-discovery journey process as soon as possible versus, 3
years down the line.
If so, it would be more so like, either you have it or you don't, or it's in your blood or it's not.
Naciste con él, right? Lo tienes en la sangre.
Which that personally for me always rubbed me the wrong way. And so that's kind of like how
things started out.
Things, at least, I guess you could say, without hearing your side, because I'm curious to hear your side, and how your perspective was kind of being first of all, being in our program and having been through several others as well, which I applaud you for, of course, and for the sake of your dancing.
I started dancing salsa with you guys. Like, I wasn't trained in salsa at all. Like, the only salsa I knew was my sisters would call it rueda, and I'd be like, I don't know what that is, but I know that I go forward and I go back at some point, and I'm gonna get tossed around. Right. That was my basic knowledge. Nice. And like, everybody's drunk at 3 a.m. They're like, oh my God, let's call it rueda. We're not even on time. Right. But that was my only introduction of salsa besides listening to salsa music and having my own salsa band.
That's right.
But that was, and then just being the sound engineer for the Latin band at my high school as well. Those were like my only real knowledge of salsa and my dad's passion for music as well.
That's so awesome too, because I guess that's something a little bit more outside of like the times, but just you having that as like a
I know my dad worked at La Tropicana or whatever the big club in Cuba was.
Oh, okay.
And he was an electrician. He was a master electrician for that, which I didn't come to find out until after I started dancing, which I was like, and after I started doing technical theater, because he's like, oh, I did all that for like the clubs in Cuba. And I was like, are you serious right now? You never told me about this? And I've been doing theater like for so long.
Isn't that wild though?
It's insane.
That carries over without you even knowing.
But
that's crazy.
That's nice. It was like my first introduction to salsa, and I guess the salsa scene was, I think I had been coming to classes at Salsa Kings. I've been a dancer all my life. I did ballet, I did contemporary, I competed, I did all that jazz. Pun intended.
Guys, watch the YouTube version of the podcast if you're on the audio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is so much more fun.
Okay, go ahead.
And just I grew up dancing, so yo siempre tenía como algo, and I always loved to dance. And then when I started doing salsa, I started with my friend. It was more so as a thing to get out of the house, because I had just finished getting a surgery, and like I tore my ACL, and so I was like, I need to get out of this house now.
This was before you started dancing?
This was before I started Salsa Kings, yeah. So I got my
You
surgery.
already tore your ACL?
I had torn my ACL, meniscus, and the lateral ligament. I had torn all three in November of 2020, and I started Salsa Kings in June of 2021. I wasn't supposed to, but I chose to because I couldn't stay home. I am not a homebody. So that aside, we're gonna talk about myself for another later on. We don't gotta focus.
Right.
Anywho, it was a salsa scene. I didn't go out as much as everybody around me. Like I've started fairly at the same time as Pablo. And I would say that Pablo went out a lot more than I did. And he'd be like, vamos a salir. And I'd be like, Pablo, I don't really know like what to do. Like I only come to class and you would teach, and I just pick up the patterns easily. And I'd be like, okay, cool. It came kind of naturally to me. I won't say it didn't come easily because I struggle. But but it came with a sense of like previous knowledge. Like I had done this in the past.
Sure.
And
I think naturally is a good word.
I guess, right? Naturally. It came naturally. Okay. And then I started going out. I remember the first time I went out, it was with two other people my age. I had been dancing with them already at Kings. I met them at Kings. And Pablo also went. And
where was this?
La Mesa. I think it was.
Really? Okay,
yeah.
so La Mesa was your
first time going out social dancing.
Was Cabrera DJing there?
Yes.
Nice.
So
shout out to Cabrera, DJ Cabrera.
DJ Cabrera, I love you. And then it was just like I sat down, and I like to people watch, right? I like to get a feel for my ambiente before I like sit down and like
me too.
See who I'm gonna be dancing with or whatever. I think like as a female, that's just a very like proponent thing. Like we'll watch before we say yes.
Absolutely.
Just to, make sure you ain't trying to be funny.
Right.
So,
or if you need to cut somebody.
Right. Do I need to throw my chancleta?
Eso mismo.
And it's just, I had such a good time. Like it felt so warm and like welcoming. And then I just kept on going out more and more. And then I think possibly a year in, right after I started teaching, Pablo and I went to Por Qué No, which is like the dance competition that would have, was it at Copper Blues? Copper Blues. And I guess that's what the closest thing I could relate to like the Mikosuki thing. Because that was the first
It was a
time.
series. It was a competition series.
It was a series. Like they would do, I think it was like 3 trials. And then the last Friday or the last Wednesday or Thursday, whatever day they do it on, that's when the actual competition was. So the first 3 weeks was picking different couples. And then the last one you would compete against each other. I had no clue what I was doing. Pablo and I danced Casino. And Casino is obviously not a very flashy dance. We didn't, win, but we had such a good time that we're like, oh, I kind of want to do this again. So we kept on growing.
I had no idea.
You didn't?
No, this is awesome to me. Okay.
Welcome to the story. Yeah, Pablo and I did this, and it was like one of my first times truly going out and trying hard to like be part of the salsa scene. And then Congress, that was my real first introduction.
Pause. Hold on. How long? See, that makes me so happy. How long were you guys since, I guess you can say, the start of your first class to the time that you entered into your first competition? This competition? Less than a year.
I think Pablo had just got into a year, and I was about to hit a year.
Mira pa eso.
I think I had just about, because I had just started teaching right before I did this competition.
Okay.
Right. And Paulo had also been teaching for like, because Paulo started teaching like a month or two before me. And we were like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's go for it. Might as well
I love
at this point. Right. And so we just did it. And then Congress came along, and that was Miami Salsa Congress. And I had a blast.
That's just social dancing.
No, I performed with Las Reinas.
Oh, that's right.
I performed with a bachata group.
Okay.
And which it was my first time also performing at a Congress, because I didn't even know about this happening. I was like, oh my God, this has been in Miami my entire life, and I never found out. What? But Congress was so much fun, and I was like, I couldn't stay too long because, you know, todavía tengo 18. I'm living with like my parents and all that stuff, and I'm like, me voy a like Cinderella, me voy a las midnight, and I get in my pumpkin and I have to drive home. So I couldn't really enjoy that aspect at the time, like of the late night dancing and
Sure.
just everybody trickling out and like people staying, and the people that do stay is like everybody that wants to like dance.
Right. That's a great description. Dance. Because that's the truth.
That's how many hours you stay there. Dance.
That's accurate.
And, you know, I had such a good time, and I had gone with the Salsa Kings group, and I was like, yo, I really want to keep on doing this. And I've never been one to like really enjoy going out como para los clubs and all that stuff. So I never like saw myself going to like Cuba Ocho or Ball and Chain. I can't even get in, first of all. let me start there, right? That's my main issue right now. And at the time, even less. So, you know, I was just like, that held me back from going out. But once I saw that there were people younger than me, like at Congress, I was like, yo, all these little kids are out here social dancing with these grown-ass adults. Like, props to them. And they're like keeping their weight. So that's where I was just like, that was my first ever, like, really, like, this is the salsa community. This is the salsa world. Welcome, right? Which is, I guess, the closest I could get to your Mikosuki, right? If your Mikosuki was every Wednesday, this was my Congress.
Right.
Which I'm kind of sad about, because, like, that sounds great. You know, a live 8-piece band every Wednesday as a place to just relax, have a drink, you know, and dance casino. That sounds awesome. Yeah. And the fact that we have to do that, now you said $5, I got to pay $150 plus for Congress. And that's not including like the hotel, if it's like Orlando Salsa Congress, or the drinks at the bars, at the hotels. And then you got to include like the cost of travel and then whatever. So it racks up.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. What our first Salsa Kings first Congress was 2015 or 2016. And when we went all out. Like we had, I think, 3 or 4 performances with all of our different, I guess you could say, levels of teams and stuff like that. Everyone did amazing. Everyone had a great time. But I guess to say for us, it was more of like making sure that we were accurately represented, I guess you can say, because at, you know, something like a Congress, at the end of the day, you're supposed to be, you know, demonstrating yourself, you know, kind of like, you know, the growth.
This is who we are.
That's
exactly what you're doing on stage.
Eso mismo. So kind of, you know, being established in 1998 to finally make a presence, if you would, in 2015, I guess you could say I'm going to say the public, because we're definitely very, very known in Miami, but I guess you could say to everyone on the outside, because there's definitely a lot of travelers that come in.
International
dancers that come in to Miami Congress. So that was definitely a lot of fun. But there's the I guess you could say a lot of that Congress, definitely vibe is certainly there.
Yeah.
Um, I guess just mine was a little bit more from a student standpoint, I guess you can say, was I don't know this. I for those of you that listen to the show, like I just have a thing for live music and what kind of like what that
Live
does to
music
inspire
really does
inspire you,
help
you know?
dance though. That's just,
Yeah.
and I can rant on that for hours.
Right,
Like,
right. Yeah, no,
it
absolutely.
changes the feel. The moment you play a track on, like, let's say un timbal or whatever, instead of on your phone or through a speaker or whatever you're playing it through, it changes the way you feel about it, right? And that's what Congress, I feel like, is. So that's the appealing aspect of Congress.
Nice.
Not only do you get to dance with all these international dancers, like these renowned dancers from New York, California, sometimes Italy, Spain, whatever, but you get to be in front of a live band and feel what it's like to change with the musicians.
Right.
Like, because let's say one of the musicians wants to grab a soloist, right? That's not part of the normal song that you listen to, but it's like, oh my God, what is happening? I can test my musicality out on this.
Right.
This is what I can do now, right? And this is just another part of Congress and, like, I guess with the social dancing now that I wish there was more of.
That's what we want to make. There's no doubt about it. That's what we want to make just because I know directly how that impacted me and it kind of accelerated my growth and kind of, I guess you could say what I was talking about that kind of inspired that breaking of that. I guess you can say that traditional structure, if you would, that it was just like, man, it's like there's so much more that could be expressed.
There's so much more to feel.
There's so much more to feel. There's so much more to feel.
To grab onto. There's
And-
so much more to change with. There's so much more to adapt to.
Absolutely. And I think the more that we can embrace this or have, practice or comfort or guidance, because that can be scary for a student, right?
Oh, it's scary as hell.
Yeah. So okay. So now, let me give you another scenario. Is I remember going to, oh man, I would probably say Mangoes, which we'll go. We'll eventually go. We'll go to Mangoes. Mangoes is a
I like mangoes. I don't know if I like mango, but I love mangoes. They're my favorite fruit.
It's a very, very popular, I would say almost even like the most popular Latin club on South Beach. Tourist trap, 100%. Trap not in a bad way, just it's very, very commercially appealing.
Very
And
touristy.
and I remember going and there was so many people, here I am, trained, right? Trained. And I'm seeing so many people on the dance floor that have no training
Yeah.
with like having 3-4 times as much fun.
Because they're not thinking about it. They're just like, I know what I think I know, and then I'm going to do what I know I think I know.
Eso mismo. And I found that to be so awesome. I found that to be so, first of all, humbling.
Yeah.
And I also found that to be kind of like a realigning of, why are we doing this? And like these people got it right, and to kind of bring that to the students coming through, I think is so important. So that, like I had mentioned before, like right from the beginning, they can kind of get that sauce,
flavor,
correct,
that salsa.
that self identity, if you would, which is absolutely wonderful.
And I think there's a lack of that in, like, this current society. Because everywhere you go out, somebody is a student of some studio, right? Which is not a terrible thing at all. Like, to learn and to want to grow is an amazing thing. But, where it is that the difference between going to a family party and watching your abuelo and abuelo dance what they consider to be their type of casino is a different kind of, like, warm feeling than you going out to Ball and Chain or you going out to any of these other places and watching these quote unquote seasoned dancers, interpret their own sazon in what looks to be a technical way.
Right.
Right? Like, everything is so technical and, like, by the book. When you go out and dance, it's very difficult to grasp or see the, like, creativity cogs running in the
And that's
head.
actually awesome that you say that, because again, one of the things that was made clear to me right from the get-go was during those couples competitions. I would say in the rueda competitions too, but probably more in the couples competitions. It was often the couple that started the moves last is the one that won.
Because they were having fun.
It
Wasn't a performance. It wasn't a
Correct.
showcase. It was them having fun. I mean, I would assume I wasn't there.
Right. No. But you're hitting it. You're hitting it right on the head. And
Like, because that's what every social dance is. Not every, but most, if not close to all social dances now. It's like you're either being filmed by a friend because you want to post it on social media, so you're gonna try your best. Therefore, by trying your best, you're thinking, oh damn, I don't want to make a mistake. Like, oh, I don't want to look bad.
Getting
like,
back in the head.
Getting into your head, and you don't allow yourself to have that quote unquote fun, right? And it's just, I love the salsa scene, and if there was one thing that I would change, it would be like, hey, let's get the cameras out. Because the authenticity of not being behind a screen is different. Like,
oh my God, I love that.
well, it's true. Like, when you start filming yourself, you are a different person.
Correct.
And when you start dancing, like, it's happened to us even. Like, I'll be dancing with you socially. The moments we'll spy a camera that somebody's recording us, it'll be like a small thing, but we'll change something. Like, you'll either adjust your posture, or I'll like fix my arms to make sure that my elbows are up and that my shoulders are back and I'm relaxing my arms. So I start thinking about everything that I'm doing wrong. And then you analyze yourself in the video and you're just like, oh, damn, I messed up here, I messed up here, I messed up here, I messed up here. Instead of just being like, oh my God, that was such a fun dance. I have no clue what we did, but I know that I had a good time.
Oh my God, you're bringing something to me, because the thing is that then there were no phone cameras.
No.
And I was the loser that actually had the big digital camera in my back pocket. But there was thanks.
You're welcome.
But there was much less of that, which that makes a lot of sense. Because at the end of the day, I guess you could say that pressure of not knowing where this recording is going to go, you know, it's so much easier to fall back into the mind, to get trapped again, to limit the expression.
There's so many people recording at congresses all the time, and there's random people that will record you social dancing, and you generally don't know where it's going to go. I've had tons of people record me dancing bachata socially, and I'm like, I have no clue where this is ending up at. So I might as well try my best. Because, you know, what if somebody looks at this and they're like, oh, I want to start dancing bachata because of this. Right. So it's just a lot of like pressure. It's very, I don't know, mind-boggling, I guess.
Yeah. Absolutely. Occupying the mind, which you could, another perspective could be, you know, that could be a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, that we're being, I guess you could say, a little bit more conscious. But what comes in the other hand with when that happens is we get more in our head.
Yeah.
Which the more that we are in our head, the less we are in our heart, or the less vulnerable we are, because again, we're just, our energy is elsewhere. So wow. Thank you for that. That's totally awesome. And dang, so then I would even venture to say that it's more difficult now.
I would agree with that. Because every social dance feels like it has to be a performance if you're being recorded.
And there's less live music, generally speaking, too.
I can name the amount of times that I've socially danced to live music on one hand.
Right.
Versus like a DJ. Which is sad because I love live music.
Yeah. Anybody who loves to dance loves live music.
I love live music, and live salsa especially, because there's so many things that you can pick up whenever you're listening to live salsa. Whether the trombone player has like their mic is higher so you get to hear what they're playing, or the piano person has a mambo section that they tried to do something different at, or the trumpet is like doing a really cool solo and he's like having all these little like moments, or the sax player, or the timbalero, like tuku 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 tuku, right? And the tuku 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 isn't in the song, but like you dance to tuku 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 in the social. So I just wish there was more live music.
We'll make that happen. We're gonna make that happen.
I hope so.
We're gonna make that happen. If you guys support this message, if you guys think that there should be live, Vote for Dariana Fustes Flores Martinez Garcia
Thank you. That is me.
as your next salsa president. And we'll go ahead and bring more live music to you. We're going to go ahead and make that happen, guys. Thank you, Dariana, for your time. You're lovely, inside and out, dancer, on the dance floor, off the dance floor. But you already knew that.
What?
You already knew that.
You don't have to stop.
Appreciate you guys for your continued loyalty, and we hope to see you guys. Dariana and I will be on Miami Salsa Cruise 2026 last week of February. MiamiSalsaCruise.com for more details. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out Dariana along with Miguel Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I don't bite. I promise.
Be good, guys. Episode 197. Then and now.
Then and now.
Bye-bye.